By the time his mom slid me that note, I already knew I was in trouble. The kind that doesn't end with a laugh or a funny story later. The kind that quietly changes your entire life. The kind you can never tell your best friend about. My name is Ryan. I'm 23, freshly graduated with a mechanical engineering degree that still feels slightly unreal. For the past 4 years, I survived on instant noodles, endless all-nighters, and the constant fear of failing physics. The one constant through all of it was my best friend, Eric. We met in freshman year, when we both nearly failed the same physics class. Eric is loud, funny, and magnetic, the kind of guy who can make friends with anyone in 5 minutes. He's the brother I never had, the one who showed up at 2 a.m. with pizza whenever I was drowning in deadlines and stress. That night was supposed to be simple, our joint graduation party. We had rented the back patio of a small restaurant just outside town. Fairy lights hung from wooden beams, long tables were covered with white cloths, and a Bluetooth speaker played early 2000s hits. The air smelled of grilled burgers and fresh summer grass. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the warm evening. I stood near the edge of the patio with a soda in my hand, trying to blend in. Eric was in the center of everything, navy blazer on, tie loose, holding court as usual. Everyone was laughing at his jokes. Typical Eric. That's when I noticed her. Tessa, Eric's mom. She stood alone near the open bar, a glass of white wine in her hand. At 42, she looked far younger than her age. She wore a simple, black sleeveless dress that gently hugged her figure. Her blonde hair fell softly to her shoulders, and the fairy lights caught the quiet warmth in her brown eyes. I had known her since high school. She used to drop off Christmas cookies at my house, asked me to feed her cat when she traveled, and even taught me how to tie a proper tie before prom. Back then, she was just Mrs. Larson, safe, kind, and completely off-limits. But tonight, she didn't feel off-limits. Eric had mentioned his parents' divorce last year. His dad had moved across the country, and Tessa stayed behind, quietly trying to rebuild her life. I had heard the words, but I never truly saw what they meant until now, until I saw the quiet loneliness in her eyes as she sipped her wine. I realized I was staring. My chest felt tight. This was insane. This was Tessa. She had grounded Eric and me for stealing her beers when we were 17. She still sent me birthday cards with a $20 bill tucked inside. Yet my eyes kept finding her. At one point, our gazes met across the patio. It lasted only a second, maybe less, but it felt much longer. She didn't smile or wave. She simply held my eyes, then looked away and took another sip of wine. My heart slammed against my ribs. Later, as the music slowed into something softer and more nostalgic, I found myself walking toward the bar. I told myself I was just getting another soda, nothing more. "Ryan," she said warmly as I approached, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. "Hiding behind the dessert table again?" I laughed, rubbing the back of my neck. "A little of both. You know crowds aren't my thing." "You've survived worse," she teased gently. "Like the time I caught you and Eric raiding my fridge for beer." I groaned. "You're never going to let that go, are you?" "Not a chance." Her eyes moved over me. "You look good. You finally learned how to tie that tie properly." "Yeah, you taught me, remember?" Her smile softened. "I remember more than you think." The noise of the party seemed to fade. For a moment, it felt like the world had narrowed down to just the two of us. Before I could say anything else, she slid a folded white napkin across the bar toward me. Her fingers brushed mine for the briefest second. "For later," she said softly. I took it without opening it there. Only when I stepped away did I unfold it under the glow of the fairy lights. In her neat, familiar handwriting, it simply read, "Come find me tonight." 4 words. That was all. My fingers trembled as I stared at the note. I looked up. Tessa was still at the bar, but she no longer looked at me. She placed her empty glass down, spoke briefly to the bartender, and turned away. When the party began to wind down, Eric slung an arm around my shoulders. "We're heading to Jake's. Mom's closing out the bill here. Maybe give her a hand if she needs it. She's always liked you more than me, anyway." He laughed like it was nothing. "Sure," I said, my throat dry.
2 hours later, just before 11 p.m., I found myself parked across the street from Tessa's house, the same house I'd visited countless times since high school. The porch light was on. The living room glowed warmly. I sat in the car for a long minute, heart pounding, telling myself to drive away. Then I pulled out the napkin again. Come find me tonight. I walked up to the door. Before I could knock, it opened. Tessa stood there barefoot, her black dress replaced by a loose gray t-shirt and soft jeans. Her hair was down. She looked beautiful and vulnerable at the same time. "Come in, Ryan," she said quietly, "if you're sure." That night, we didn't rush anything. We sat on the couch with some distance between us. She was honest with me. She told me she wasn't the type to leave notes for young men or bring them home. She admitted she had been lonely, that when I looked at her at the party, she felt seen as a woman for the first time in years, not just as Eric's mom. I told her the truth too, that I had been fighting the way I felt about her, because she was Eric's mother, because of the age difference, because it was completely insane. But I couldn't stop feeling it. Before I left that night, she made one thing clear. "I'm not going to kiss you tonight. I need you to be sure. Go home, think about it. If you still feel the same in the morning, text me and say you want to meet for coffee. If you don't, I'll understand. We'll never speak of this again." The next morning, at 10:12 a.m., my hands shaking, I sent the text. "Hey, you free for coffee today?" Her reply came almost instantly. "There's a bakery near campus. 11 a.m. I'll be there." That coffee date was the beginning. We didn't jump into anything physical right away. Instead, we built something careful and real. She helped me with job interviews. I helped her around the house, fixing things, carrying boxes, just finding excuses to be near her. We talked for hours about life after divorce, about starting over, about fear and desire. Slowly, the space between us disappeared. One evening, after Eric had moved to New York for his new job, I went to her house for dinner. He had asked me, again, to check in on Mom because she would be alone now. The guilt was heavy, but so was the pull toward her. That night, after dinner, we finally kissed. It wasn't rushed or dramatic. It was slow, honest, and full of everything we had both been holding back. When we pulled apart, she rested her head against my chest and whispered, "This isn't a game for me, Ryan. If we do this, we do it for real." Weeks turned into months. Eric was thriving in New York. We kept our relationship a secret, not out of shame, but because we knew how fragile and complicated it was. We wanted to protect what we were building. One quiet night, months later, we sat on her porch under a clear sky. I pulled out the faded napkin from my wallet, the one with those 4 life-changing words. "You kept it?" she asked, smiling softly. "I did," I said. "Do you regret writing it?" She shook her head, her eyes bright in the porch light. "No," she said. "That was the first truly honest thing I'd done for myself in years." I took her hand in mine and laced our fingers together. It was still messy. It was still a secret. There were still many unknowns ahead, especially when it came to Eric. But as we sat there together, her head resting on my shoulder, I knew one thing with complete certainty. The night of his graduation party, his mom slid me a note with 4 simple words. I found her. And she found me.